seem to matter what I do. I'm always the number two.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding. You're kidding.
I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. And you're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
Wow, would you believe that the Rams actually knocked out the fake poser Vikings? I actually don't. I'm not surprised. But we're not here to talk about sports news. We're here to talk about
Lenny's in
Hollywood.
the chat, guys. No,
Hello,
we're gonna
Lenny.
have a really good show.
Oh yeah, and Yash is here as well. Hello Yash. Hello Lenny. Michael K. He's watching
Best show
in
ever.
Australia. The fires don't affect me. Well, we're glad that you're staying safe out there, Michael. And
don't act like y'all don't get fires, though, Michael.
Yeah, you don't.
Let's just put it in perspective.
Don't even go there with Australia. You have like creatures from H.P. Lovecraft's nightmares down there.
Nah, he's
right?
in South Australia. He's fine.
No, I'm trying to do the math. So you're 18 hours ahead of us, right, Michael? So for you, it's like
2
6
a.m.
p.m. in the
tomorrow.
evening. It's because it's 18
4
hours.
4 p.m.
Yeah. He's almost an entire day ahead of us.
Yeah, they're
That's
at the
crazy.
end of their day.
4 p.m.
Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, Yash was
He's talking
saying,
to us from the future, you guys.
Pretty much. I mean, Yash was
Wild.
also saying that Creature Commandos ended on a surprisingly dull note. Well, we did review Creature Commandos last week. So
I
be sure
wouldn't
to
say
check
the
that.
entire thing was dull. It's just like, I just love. The funny thing was like, well, it's like, why do like in the first episode, Rick Flag was like, why do you have that chick with a fishbowl? And she's like, get her in water and see what happens. And she got her in water and she gets immediately yeeted. So James,
Not much
buddy, did you kind of forget that part? Because we remember.
Sure do. We were
You know
waiting for
what?
it the whole season.
Maybe there's a redemption arc for Nina Mazursky. We'll see. We will see.
What does she need redeeming? I
She
think
might-
James
I
Gunn
don't
needs
know.
James
I
Gunn
mean,
to bring her
I'm
back
just saying.
so she
Maybe
can
she'll be.
serve a point next time.
Yeah. Well, you know what? In the news
maybe.
intro, we
But
have.
you know what? Maybe this murder attempt, because we don't know for sure that she's dead. Maybe this murder attempt will like be the thing that hardens her and makes her cynical and fearful of the world and suspicious of everyone. So still
I don't know.
still do nothing, but now with an edge. I don't know.
By the way, TC24's in the chat, and he's like, John, that math was crazy. You're like 2 a.m. in the morning.
I was like, hang on. I meant to say PM, and I said AM by accident.
Well, no, but it still wouldn't be right.
Hours,
yeah,
that would be around.
It's like 5:23.
PM.
How about, hey, Michael K, could you tell us what time it is there tomorrow, please?
Yeah.
Five
TC's
How about
like
the actual Australian tell us?
TC was pointing out how you probably said that, Michael was like a good 27 hours ahead of us, which isn't possible because the Earth only has 24 hours.
Australia better than America. I mean, that's not saying much. Like,
So it's
honestly,
so
I'd
true,
rather
and I can
live
say that
in
from
a country
experience.
All right.
that's
So
trying to kill me every 2 seconds. But
That's
I'm gonna
only
save
in
you.
central. That's only in the outback. You're fine on the coastal cities.
bro, have you not seen the TikToks where like people are like,
I've
oh,
been
look
there.
at that
I've
fucking
been
spider,
there.
and it's as big as their wall. Like, come on.
They're not vicious. They're not going to attack
I'm
you. They're
still
just
gonna
chilling.
have shit in my pants after fucking seeing one in my house. Like, oh, they're not vicious. Okay,
They're just chilling.
But like the old
They just wanna
Cthulhu's
eat
baby
the
is
other
still in my
insects. You'll be
fucking
all right.
house.
You'll be all right. You're fine. Just don't.
Jesus,
you
like
know.
I'm not like afraid of spider. Like a dust spider, I could fucking kill those things. That's fine. But it's like once I see tarantula and bigger, I'm out. I'm done. That's a hell spawn. That doesn't deserve to live. Fuck that.
Well, I wonder what Captain America says when he sees the Red Hulk coming at him. He's like, oh, I'm out. Except he can't because we are going to be watching Captain America 4 really, really soon. And now it seems, hopefully, they've got a final cut locked in. They can't go back and change anything else. But of course, as you see on the screen here, starting off the news, we have to talk about the opening weekend box office projections for Captain America: Brave New World. It's eyeing an opening that is, by Marvel standards, a little underwhelming, but by normal movie standards, I mean, 86 to 95 million over President's Day weekend sounds pretty good to me. It's an early look, of course. Things can change over the coming weeks, but given that they've put out so many trailers, I mean, we're a little over a month away. I don't imagine this number changing too much, so I just wanted to get your opinion on this. Liz, since you are the big Marvel fan on the panel here, I want to get your opinion on this. Do you think this bodes well, that 86 to 95 million? Because I believe, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this will be kind of in line with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's certainly higher than the Marvels did, I believe, on opening weekend. So it's, in terms of recent MCU, it's not too bad. But in terms of Deadpool and Wolverine, it's nowhere near what that did. So what do you think?
I mean, it's actually a surprising number for me to see that. To me, I feel like that's high given the reception that it's received so far. Nobody's really interested in this, and including myself. But the fact that it is going to be on President's Weekend, people will be, home from school, that kind of thing. So if there's nothing else going on, people will be there. I'm not going to necessarily call it a date night movie because it's coming out on the 14th, but I think that's a fair assessment. Again, I don't expect it to do much more than that. But I'll be there. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it surpasses my expectations. I don't think that it will though.
Now, of course, while you were giving your opinion on the matter, I looked up the opening weekends for MCU movies, and you look at the very top, obviously, Avengers Endgame, 357 million. I don't think any movie's ever really getting to that number, which is fine. But then when we scroll down the list, let's kind of see what 85 to 96 would place it. Where it would place Captain America.
At the very bottom.
Well, I mean, not exactly. So, look, there's been 41 releases in the MCU, including a few of them are re-releases. So I guess you could say in total there have been 34.
So if movies. It was 84, if it was the lower end number, it would be lower than the Marvels, which is the lowest.
No. That's so that column is the lifetime gross. So here, let me actually organize this. Let me organize this by.
I was so confused. 84. That's okay. That makes sense.
So if I organize it by opening numbers, I'm sorry, that was my bad. It was organized by lifetime. So let's see. So 86 on the low end of that scale, it would be right around where Doctor Strange and Thor: The Dark World would be.
That's fair.
And on the high end, it would be right around Captain America: the Winter Soldier. So it's not as bad. Captain America: The Winter Soldier doing 96 million. Or 95 million back.
It's not the worst thing ever.
10 years later, you'd expect it to do more, but again, it's not. It's
As TC was saying in the chat, that plus it means nothing when the fucking budget has ballooned up to allegedly 400 to 450 million. Those are the rumors I've seen. Now, it could be bullshit, could be not, but the reshoots have ballooned the budget, and they're not going to say that ballooned up budget. I know they're not. They're going to say maybe, the budget's maybe 200 million, which is still a lot, but I think it's double that with all these reshoots and everything, but they're not going to say that reshoot budget because that would, fuck their numbers. And I'm half convinced that modern Disney movies are embezzlement schemes at this point, or money laundering schemes, because it's just where the fuck does this money go?
I mean, if you're gonna run a monopoly, you got to figure out where the money's coming from. So
exactly. So this is okay. I can't see. I predict the lower end, but it is President's Day. We're getting an extra day, so maybe that might mean a little something.
Well, but this is the other thing, though, right? Because you just pointed out something that's really key. This number, I believe, is accounting for that extra day. So
which makes it even worse.
Well, actually, hold on. No. I'm reading the article more closely. It says, now the movie, when it hit tracking service Quorum, which is where these numbers are coming from, it's expected to do 86 to 95 million over the first 3 days of the 4-day Valentine's Day / President's Day weekend. But then when you add together pretty much all 4 days, it's potentially going to go over 100 million. Not bad, again, not bad at all. It sort of compares to Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which is exactly what we were mentioning a few minutes ago. It's not like mind-blowingly good, but honestly, like you said, Liz, given like the fact that they've done so many reshoots and the opinions are already mixed, and you being even being a super fan of Marvel,
I'm just not enthused for it. That's all.
I'm surprised still that this movie is tracking as well as it is, because I'd imagine that maybe the interest would be lower. But then again, it's a Marvel movie. There's a certain floor that they've earned over time, and the floor is still pretty high, it shows. So as long as, look, if they go in and people love this movie on opening weekend, then it will get the repeat business, which will hopefully then bring more people in, and that will be a good thing for the movie, making more money overall, over the course of its run. I did want to quickly, by the way, welcome in Trey's watching us live today. We've seen you in the comments, of course, but I don't know if you've been in the live chat in a while. Steven Anderson, you leave us some awesome comments. You are watching us live today, so thank you for joining us. Of course, we will bring your comments into the show later. I know you guys have some ideas for Batman, so we will talk about that when we get to DCU Daily. Lenny asking a question, John. How many reshoots have they had so far, and how long have they delayed the release? I can answer the one part of that question, which is this movie was meant to come out almost a year ago, but because of the writers' strikes, everything kind of got pushed back. So now we're getting it in 2025, which is why we have 3 Marvel releases this year, because otherwise I think originally it was only meant to be like, Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, and, Captain America got pushed. Of course, Blade also had been delayed, but then got taken off the schedule because, quite frankly, that is never going to happen.
Sorry,
Go
I
ahead,
do
Liz.
want to throw in one more thing. I know we've been speculating about a full Superman trailer, and John had said, maybe it's for the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl comes out the week before this film comes out, and I wouldn't put it past DC to be really smart and make sure that their trailer runs before this movie's released. So I'm kind of on John's team now, where I agree. I think the trailer will come out Super Bowl, if not the week of Super Bowl night, so that they can have that ready to go.
Well, we're going to get into that later, but James Gunn confirmed that they're going to be doing stuff for the Puppy Bowl. So
they did say a sneak peek, so he didn't specify trailer, but this would add up, because if they released the trailer a week earlier, then maybe the sneak peek is something that's not in that trailer. Because we were speculating that the full trailer would be at the Super Bowl, but maybe the week of the Super Bowl they're just advertising the trailer. They do like a 30-second ad spot.
Yeah, they'll do like a TV spot of stuff we've already seen, and then like the Puppy Bowl stuff, we're gonna get a lot of like crypto footage, I feel like, from there. But that's we're gonna talk about that later.
But John, my question to you would be what Lenny asked about the budget.
The reshoots. I was just gonna say. Now I don't know exactly. I believe it's been reshot at least 3 times, because it kept getting, but like they added Giancarlo Esposito's character. They like test screened the movie at least twice, and they were negative both times. Now I know test screenings don't really mean a ton, but
but they're meant to kind of find the flaws, like how the audience
means reacts. I know, because there are a lot of people like, oh, test screenings don't mean anything because and all this other stuff. But like that's kind of true, but it means something to the people behind it, because then that means, well, they're gonna reshoot this movie if it's like so flawed to the point of like, oh, this is unreleasable, so we have to go back. So I know Seth Rollins had like a huge role, and then that got cut down. We were talking about that last week. Then we had the Israeli superheroine who was going to have a really big role, and then due to not only current events but just poor reaction to her character, she got cut down majorly.
Although again, those rumors were a little exaggerated, like in terms of like just how much of a change there was, because
I know
people were talking.
I feel like that. I think I remember seeing like she was supposed to have a suit, like an actual like superhero suit, but then now she's not getting that suit. And then I think there's more prominence on the Hulk stuff, and that we're gonna get World War Hulk out of this, like after this movie. I don't see that happening. Also, New World Order still a better title. I don't care what anybody says. But
NWO, you know.
and
Life.
then
Sorry. It's a wrestling
that's
reference.
I knew you were gonna say that, so that's why I said it. But it's just like a better Brave New World. It just makes me think of the Aldous Huxley novel. So
Yeah.
but yeah, so I've seen, like, I know Giancarlo Esposito's character, who is now, I guess, the main villain. It was like inserted into this movie like Tig Notaro in Army of the Dead style, where he didn't meet any of his castmates until Comic-Con, and he was just filming in front of green screens and shit like that. And what a fucking waste of a great actor. So yeah, I think they've like changed the plot of this movie like at least 2 or 3 times, maybe even 4 times. But yeah, I mean, it all depends, because what I'm talking about in terms of reshoots is like where they like cut half the movie and like redo the story from scratch. They had to do that at least twice. So where they fucking just cut a whole bunch of shit and then they had to redo everything because the test screenings were that bad. Now, there have been like reshoots of like, oh, we need a pickup shot here, we need to do a green screen shot here, that kind of thing. That's been like kind of continuous. But I'm talking about where they had to like junk a whole bunch of the movie and then redo it again. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, you are correct.
I mean, it's significant. We don't usually we don't see that. I mean, for movies of this scale, very often, obviously, infamously, we had that happen with the Justice League, which, you know, even a new director came in. But with a movie like this, look, it seems like a lot of the original pieces are still there. You know, you still have Harrison Ford, Thunderbolt Ross, you know, the Red Hulk. And even if Giancarlo Esposito's character is something that was added down the road, at the very core of it, you still have Anthony Mackie, you still have the new Falcon, you know. So
yeah,
I love that when he's like on the carrier, this really gives me Jack Ryan vibes with this particular sequence. Is like, I need.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm thinking more Air
Force
One vibes because he's the president. That's the thing I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I understand the submarine thing, but like him as the president, I will say
ship,
the one thing that would make me at least like be like, okay, I respect it, is if they say "get off my something" in this movie at some point. They have to. They just can't. You
get
can't
off my
have
lawn.
Harrison Ford
Literally.
as the president and not have him say that.
You know what's gonna happen? He's gonna Hulk out.
Do that shit.
He's gonna Hulk out, and then he's gonna say, "Get off my lawn!" And then, you know, because he's on the White House lawn, and then he's gonna start fighting Captain America. That's by the way, do we know Shira Haas is in this movie, and she's in a lot of the trailers? Do we know what role she's playing?
She's that Israeli superhero. I don't know who she is. I forget the name. Like, begin with an S, I think.
Because I wasn't sure that was the character. I literally
that's her.
I'm not familiar with it. I mean, look, the Red Hulk VFX look nice. There's just so much going on here, and it's also the fact that it looks like Anthony Mackie's gonna have at least 2, if not 3, different suits throughout the movie. So there's that.
Gotta sell those toys.
But I do like that there's continuity between the suit that he had at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then eventually he ends up, it seems like in the third act, or maybe even halfway through the movie, he's gonna end up with that more traditional Steve Rogers Captain America suit, which again you want to legitimize this version of the character. He's not just a knockoff.
Sabra is her name.
Sabra, okay. I do wonder though just how much Giancarlo Esposito's character is gonna factor into the movie, considering when you add him late in the process. I can't imagine if they shuffled pieces around and added a few new things in, that they redid it so much that the entire story of the movie changed. Like, you know, like maybe the core idea stayed the same, but they kind of moved things around. I guess we will never quite know for certain exactly how much, you know, reshooting, you know, changed the movie. Maybe not until after the fact. But look, 85 to, what was the number? Let's kind of make sure I'm not misquoting it. 86 to 95 million opening weekend over President's Day / Valentine's Day weekend is not bad. And like you guys said, I think it will line up well where maybe we'll get a Superman trailer that's lined up with this. And when you go to watch Captain America 4, you will get a Superman trailer ahead of it, which would be perfect. I mean, you know, Captain America, Superman sort of have similar values in terms of who they represent in their individual cinematic universes. But then also, there's a lot of expectations behind this movie. Now, this is a movie that, of course, we all wanted to do well. Going into the movie theater, I'll leave my expectations at the door because, for me, I'm gonna give it a fair shot. It's a movie that deserves it because I want to see what Anthony Mackie can do as Captain America. Of course, if the movie's terrible, then the movie's terrible. Like you can't you can't try to hide your disappointment, right? Like, so we'll see. But right now, I will definitely not try to hide my disappointment because there was some news today that I came across, which only piled on to some stuff that I've been reading up for the last few weeks, if not months, because I learned recently that last year Warner Brothers Discovery shut down Boomerang, which is not cool. The streaming service version, they have the net. If you have cable, you'll still get it as part of the bundle, but the streaming version is gone. That's what I was subscribed to. So I'm like, where am I gonna get my Tom and Jerry and stuff? Like, I want my Wacky Races. I want all my Hanna-Barbera cartoons. And then recently,
Squirrel and Magilla Gorilla action, my guy.
I mean, and recently, Scooby Doo, what was it? The Courage the Cowardly Dog, all those classics, even Kids Next Door, K&D, all those things. Anyway, so recently the Cartoon Network website stopped streaming a lot of those shows for free as well. So now the only place you can find them is on Max. And even then, the selection isn't entirely the same as what you had on the streaming services, because they're probably curating the ones that maybe they expect most people to watch versus the ones that everybody would want to watch. This is the reason why shows disappear off streaming services, because nobody's watching.
This is why
them.
physical media is fucking important, you losers. Anyway.
By the way, Man of Steel Magnolia's in the chat, and he wants a very smashy Red Hulk. If the trailer is anything to go by, this Red Hulk will smash. So, and probably Captain America.
Smash.
Super smash.
Well, because the Green Hulk can't smash anymore because Black Widow died. But anyway, let's talk about NBC Universal shutting down Universal Kids cable network.
Yeah, let's talk about Kids cable network now.
So as I was saying earlier, Cartoon Network, the website is really not. I think there's like a page, but the website, the way it used to be, where you can actually watch, like you used to be able to watch entire TV shows from their catalog, that's gone. The Boomerang app is gone. So like Warner Brothers Discovery moved everything behind the paywall at Max. So if you have Max, you can see some of that stuff, like the original Looney Tunes, Cartoon Network, cartoons, or Tom and Jerry and all those things. Now NBC Universal is shutting down the Universal Kids cable network. So this is where, in the recent years, they've been basically bringing in a lot of their DreamWorks animation, properties, which you can either, I think some of them end up on Netflix as well. So, but everything under DreamWorks catalog usually would, animation-wise, they would make a lot, like, the Chipmunk show, stuff like that would go on NBC Universal. So I did want to ask you guys, I mean, again, the strategy is similar. They're trying to now move things off the network. And this is part of NBC Universal's larger strategy, where I think Comcast is selling MSNBC and CNBC soon, because the linear television is just a money-losing business and everything seems to be moving to streaming really quickly. So the idea here would be that a lot of the programming that would be on Universal Kids is now going to end up on Peacock, which is like the NBC Universal streaming service. So just the trend of this stuff happening, to me, it bothers me in the sense that the new selection on the streaming service won't be as extensive as what you would be able to get on the network or like, a dedicated streaming service. But I understand where they're coming from, because not a lot of people are subscribed to it. The cost of running those things, even like a network, they're probably losing money. Liz, I'll ask you what your opinion on this is. And do you feel like this is only still just the beginning of more things like this happening?
I mean, I think networks are kind of having an identity crisis right now and trying to decide if streaming is going to be their ultimate way to go, if they should continue to have programs on cable. There's just so much on cable. Now there's so much to stream. I think they're having a hard time finding a balance because they're trying to make as much money off everybody as they possibly can. So rather than just, say, cry uncle and say, okay, let's just put everything out on both, or I just don't think they know what they're doing right now. And I think they're just kind of making rash decisions in the hopes that I don't know. I'm really not sure. But I mean, I think it's a shame because I still think, streaming is I don't want to say subjective, but people definitely have their views on what services that are worth their money. And certainly not everybody's going to buy in just because a new streaming service has cropped up doesn't necessarily mean somebody's going to download it. So it's it's a fine line to be walking right now, and I think they're just trying to figure out what they're doing at this point.
Yeah. I mean, like, again, it's part of a larger trend. It's the latest, casualty of streaming basically taking over the way most people watch their television. John, how do you see this? Because Universal Kids, there's actually NBC, Comcast, I should say, or NBC Universal at large. They're currently working on building a Universal Kids resort. And I think it's in some part of Texas. It says it in the article here.
Frisco,
in Frisco, Texas. So yeah, I mean, they broke ground on it last year. So obviously Universal Kids as a brand is going to continue to have a presence in the larger company.
Yeah.
But it looks like a lot of this content is no longer going to be, you can't watch it. It's kind of like similar to how NBC shut down NBC Sports Network and then even Esquire a few years ago. So this is again just, them being ahead of the curve a little bit, if you want. What are your thoughts on this, in terms of just
I didn't even know this was a thing. I was like, why do we care? Because it's like another streaming service fucking bites the fucking dust. And it just, that's why I have my movies. I have in my closet, I have my fucking, I own over 200 movies and TV shows, because it's just, piracy is going to fucking go through the roof again. That's what it is. It's going to be piracy is just going to be this huge fucking booming thing now, because it I wouldn't say it died off when Netflix came around, but it was okay, Netflix was when it introduced streaming, wow, now that everybody has streaming and they're introducing what is essentially cable packages but for streaming services,
right?
It just shows that it's nothing is safe. David Zaslav wiping 90% of the animation from Max, and shutting this down, shutting Boomerang down. It's streaming is not permanent, and that's why, and piracy is almost kind of important. That's why Internet Archive is also really important, because that's technically piracy, but it's an archive. We're not gonna have these things on streaming, and then there's so many things that are out of print that you can't get anymore unless it's astronomically expensive. So that's why archiving and weirdly, in a way, piracy is so important, because it's even though it's illegal, it's it's so important, because that's really the only way you can get a lot of these shows still, because that's where it is. That's only where it is. The people that are that have these really good softwares that are ripping these shows off of these services, not just because oh, they want to watch it for free, but it's just it's available somewhere.
I wouldn't
I'm not gonna say I don't watch stuff on streaming. Of course, all the time. I watch stuff on streaming services all the time. But I also, at the same time, I understand it's not forever, because they could pull that shit. What are they gonna do with a physical DVD? They're gonna fucking break my door down and fucking be give us your copy of Dawn of the Dead. It's that's not a thing. And if that happens, they can pry it out of my cold dead hands. But I don't think they're gonna fucking do that. So that's why I am such a huge advocate for archiving and all that, and physical media, because it's so important because of shit like this.
No, I mean, physical media is definitely important, and I agree with you on that front. I wouldn't necessarily go as far as to advocate for more piracy, because I still think that takes away a lot of money from the people who are putting in a lot of hard work and effort into making the content that we are then they're not getting paid for that, because that money then doesn't go into the royalties which they'd rely on to basically make a living from. But nonetheless, what I will say though, with something like this, Universal Kids isn't a network that I particularly remember at least having any personal interest in terms of their programming. It was really aimed at a much younger audience, and likely a lot of that content will end up on Peacock and then licensed to other streaming services like Netflix and Amazon. But what I did appreciate about something like a Boomerang was, maybe I wouldn't watch it all the time, which is really what they would want me to do. But I would be able to go in, because again, it was an archival thing, right? Hanna-Barbera cartoons, they wouldn't really add a ton of new things there, but the service was there, so we can pay $5 a month to access something where, oh, I want to go watch that Tom and Jerry episode. And outside of trying to find it in little clips on YouTube, that was my way of doing it in a way that still supported the original creators. And then maybe if they were making a new movie, then that money hopefully went towards that, or at least to service the archive. So I did appreciate that. I feel like maybe where we need to go with this is that over the time, in the next few years, all of these studios need to come together and be like, okay, we're gonna launch like a streaming service that's kind of a joint venture, and it's really the aim of that is like an archiving function where we put stuff on there, we charge a premium, but will have to be a premium, and you might have to pay for it as much as like 20-30 bucks a month. But then that's a service where you will get pretty much everything that is not available, like, elsewhere on their primary streaming services. It's a little more complicated than just that because they'll have to figure out the individual licensing deals with everything, and, certain things they would want to shop around to different streaming services. So it may, you may still have situations where 1 month you have something on there and then the next month is gone because, Netflix licensed it for a year. So it's not a simple solution. I don't think there's no easy answer to it. But like you said, John, that kind of leads you down to the path of physical media. If you really, really want to have it when you want to see it, just get it on physical media. So
I bought Superman the Animated Series because I ain't trusting Zaslav now with his animation. Fuck that shit. I got my buddy Justice League Unlimited, the series. Well, the entirety of Justice League, not just Justice League Unlimited, but I got him that because I'm like, I don't trust him. So fuck it, you get this now too. So, I don't. It's just like I like streaming services. I like the convenience. I just don't trust them at all.
Yeah, because the thing is, they don't. The biggest thing from somebody who's a consumer like all of us, the problem is they will make, like, as they being the streaming services have the ability to, in the contract you sign when you sign up for these services, they can change the programming they have available on there, at their own pleasure. It's not up to us to decide, and at most they will give us like a notice like, oh, this is leaving this this Netflix at the end of this month. And now some streaming services don't even tell you that. Netflix added that because it drives viewership to certain shows because you're like, oh my god, it's leaving Netflix at the end of this month, I better watch the next 2 seasons over the course of the next week. But yeah, it's definitely jarring because for me, like, again, this kind of hits close to home because there's a lot of those animated shows I grew up watching, and now it's going to be hard for me to kind of like source some of them. And then even for physical media, it's like a lot of those things are not like an active release in physical media, so I'm gonna have to like dig around and find some of those things potentially. And maybe some people do resolve to piracy at that point, but I hope that if I can get my hands on some physical media, or maybe if it is on Peacock or Netflix or wherever, maybe that will help. But nonetheless, Hollywood, as we have talked about before, is in shock right now. They're reeling, things are being moved around, and rightfully so, because the fires have really caused a lot of damage. Literally hundreds of homes have burned down, hundreds of thousands of people are under evacuation orders, and every day we hear like some celebrity losing their house. Now obviously, like we've talked about in the past, a lot of the celebrities, yes, they're losing their homes and their valuables and stuff, right. And that is terrible still because they're still human beings, and if you lose your house to a fire, that still hurts like hell because there's still a lot of memories there that you now cannot go back to. But it's affecting just the average Joe out there because it's Hollywood productions have shut down. Very few shows are in production. Only some of the movies are starting to go back into production. Jimmy Kimmel is shooting, but they're staying indoors because obviously the air quality is really bad. We were talking about earlier, I mentioned at the top of the segment that the Rams just beat the Vikings. That game was supposed to happen in Los Angeles, but then it moved to Phoenix. So, because the air quality was bad, they didn't want people to congregate in such large, crowds like what you would for a football game. So they moved it from SoFi Stadium to Phoenix, where the usually the Cardinals play. So it's having a big effect. Even the NBA did not play some games for a couple of days with the Lakers and the Clippers. So with that said, we are in the Hollywood Awards season. We have had the Golden Globes happen. We have seen nominees come out for the DGA, for SAG, for the Art Directors Guild, for all the different award shows that will happen, all the different functions that happen for the Oscars leading up to the actual Academy Awards. But I came across this article today in the Hollywood Reporter, which was making a case for changing up the format of the Oscars this year. And essentially, I'll kind of boil this down. I mean, if you guys want, there's the headline, how the 2025 Oscars could save Los Angeles, and in parentheses, and themselves. You can search for this in Hollywood Reporter and go read it for yourself in detail, but I'll kind of summarize it for you guys, and I want to get your reaction to this. That they're suggesting here that not only, should they modify the format to kind of, spend more time honoring the people who have like the firefighters who have lost their lives fighting this fire, and then of course try to pay tribute and maybe even find ways to raise money for those who are now displaced by the fires. But instead of just doing like a halfway measure and then continuing on with the award ceremony at large, make the whole Oscars this year into the world's biggest telethon of like the back in the day, like the 80s, like what you would remember seeing like in an episode of Full House or something. Or if you lived during the 80s, then you might have been a part of a couple. Like of course that famous Queen performance was part of a big telethon back in the day. So they're suggesting that maybe that's what we should do. And then that way we can use the whole event as a means to raise money to help all the the people who are affected by the fires. I will kind of also preface this before I get your opinion on this. A lot of the big companies and studios out there have been pitching in now. I think today I saw Warner Brothers Discovery donated $15 million. I think Comcast donated $10 million, like NBC Universal basically. And Sony donated $5 million. So like studios, are donating to the cause of like hopefully helping the people recover and again putting out the fires because they're still fighting a lot of the fires. But what do you think? I'll start with you on this, John. What do you think about the idea of basically upending like how the Oscars work and turning them into a telethon this year? I mean, it's almost like a two-part question because A, what do you think about the idea of doing that, the format, and then B, the consequences of that would be, I mean, the people who win the awards this year, who get nominated, don't really get their moment in the spotlight like people would have in other years. But we are coming off, the COVID pandemic. So, of course, we saw how some of that looked a little bit in terms of like what a year, because it would be hard to imagine that like years, like 5-6 years ago. But now we have an example of that. So, like, what do you think about this, the format, and then again, the consequences of potentially if they did go this route?
Remind me again, what's a telethon again? That was kind of before my time, I think. Is that just like raising money live, essentially?
Yes, essentially. Okay. You would have performances. You're providing entertainment to the fans.
I know that because I remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, but like this is the thing, right? Like back in the day when telethons would happen, you had phones with the wires on them. Right now, the only wire that I need for my phone is the charging.
I'm not that fucking old. I'm not that fucking young. I know that.
Yeah.
But I think that could be a good way of doing it. But I feel like I like the idea, but also really fucking hate the idea at the same time, because the thing I hate the most about the Oscars is when there's this pretentious, like, I don't know what the word is, proselytizing, I think is the word, of like the celebrities acting more important than they really are kind of thing. And I feel like having something where they could like donate would be like it would more be, I feel like it would be more circle jerky than anything. Like they're not doing it because they're kind, because most celebrities aren't. They're doing it because they'll get brownie points with, they think it'll get brownie points with certain people, the peasants as we're called, and all that. I don't think they would do it out of compassion. I mean, some people are compassionate, but like most celebrities aren't. And I don't think they would do that like a sort of a kindness thing. I think they would just do it because they would want to inflate their egos and make themselves feel more important than they really are. And I wouldn't want the Oscars to become that more so than they already are, that when fucking like, somebody like comes on the stage and they're like, oh yeah, this award's great, but let me tell you about climate change for 10 minutes. It's like, okay, I don't want to fucking hear that. I don't want to hear about the horrors of the world. For like the reason I watch a movie is to escape that shit. Like, I don't want to hear that. So yeah, exactly. I mean, everything about award ceremonies are pat on the back. And the Academy, I would say, is the worst one out of all of them. So I would say like, I think like it might be seen as offensive, but I mean, I think it's a little better. Just be like, hey guys, like they could have like a pop-up on the bottom, like, hey, here's a QR code where you can donate to your organization of choice to help the people with the fires and blah, 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 blah. And that's like kind of it. Because the thing is, you're already going to have people who the big people accepting the awards, not the people that are like that win for documentary short subject, who nobody's gonna know their fucking name after the ceremony ever again. Who can like actually talk about like the passion of creating something rather than like, let me spoon feed you current events for 15 minutes. And so, because you're already going to have like the big actors and actresses and directors and screenwriters being like, man, this award's great, but you know, it's a real shame about those fires. And everybody's going to fucking bring it up anyway. So making it like a even bigger to do would just be even worse, even more annoying than it already would be. So I don't think they should do that. I think at the very most they should mention it, be like, hey, you can donate here, and then that's it. Like, because you're already gonna have, and KC, you're probably the smartest one out of all of us. So you know, I just don't think they should. No matter what anybody says, like that would, I just think that would be a horrible idea.
I mean, to me, look, it's a weird idea to suggest, because doing a telethon today, this is maybe where the idea is coming from. The Oscars, outside of like NFL games and the Super Bowl, are one of the most, if not outside of sports, the most watched broadcasts of the year. So it's one of the highest rated shows. So like, if you want to use that platform as a means to, get, funding for, and, to help people recover, I think the intention is good. But from the outside of Hollywood looking in, you can also, I remember reading one of the comments on social media about this article saying, hey, what about the flooding in Tennessee and stuff, like these other events where, things have been terrible, and like, a year has passed and now, people are still without the kind of help that they should have gotten. And we're not doing, something like this for them. Like, this is for Hollywood and, a lot of the people who lost their homes. Yes, and again, we talked about it, like, it affects hundreds of thousands of people, and most of them do not have the means to like go to another home or be able to easily recover from the damage. Whereas, the celebrities do. Like Jamie Lee Curtis actually, I think, pledged $1 million of her own money towards the recovery efforts. But still, like yes, I get the idea of like, it might seem a little disingenuous, but if their heart is in the right place, I mean, they could raise a lot of money potentially, because it's not even like the Oscars are broadcast only in the US. You can watch them anywhere in, pretty much most parts of the world, but on whichever network or streaming service it's airing on. I mean, Liz, what are your thoughts on this, the idea of turning the Oscars this year into just a telethon instead, to help raise money for the people who have lost their homes and been displaced by the wildfires in LA?
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts. Lenny says nobody watches award shows anymore. That's not true. I watch every single award show.
Well, just the
not
ratings.
necessarily. I mean, to be
yeah.
perfectly honest, I watch it because I have seen all of these films. I make it a point to see all of these films. I am in the movie theater every single week throughout the entire year. So for me, I watch it to kind of see, just, okay, this is who I think should win. This is who I think they're going to give it to. I like to see who ends up getting the award. I don't watch it to necessarily, for the speeches or for the outfits. It's just one of those, like, I'm just interested in what, the group mentality's opinion is of what they consider the best picture of the year and what have you. I remember back to when Hurricane Katrina happened. They had that telethon very famously. Kanye West made that quote, and that should have been a warning to all of us, so what was to come with him. Then when Ariana Grande's, the terrorist act at her concert, she had a concert benefiting the victims after that. They are in talks of doing a benefit concert right now, specifically for the victims of this fire. I don't think it should be one and the same. I think they should absolutely delay all of the award ceremonies. I don't think anybody's in the right headspace right now to even think about glam and makeup and getting their limo and their hotel and getting themselves to a venue to get a statue or potentially get a statue. I think everybody right now is just concerned on the next move. So I think a telethon would be a nice thing, and some type of event, variety show, what have you. Again, they're already doing a benefit concert that's already in the works. And then later on with the award show, then I agree with John. I like the idea of putting up a QR code. This is where you go to donate. These are the various charities, foundations that we know are legit, that these aren't scams. You get it right from our sources. This is where the money's going. I think that's a really good idea. But I mean, even in this article, they talk about, oh, you know, you should bring up victims that aren't celebrities, complete unknowns, total strangers. You should have them there with the celebs as they. I think that's awful. I think that's really exploitative, and quite frankly, it's going to be a big turnoff for a lot of people, because here this person lost everything, and you're going to have them stand next to a celebrity that thankfully, for the most part, you would assume, has the means to recover a lot quicker than that individual is going to be. And them standing there while somebody else gets a little trophy isn't doing shit for them. I understand they're trying to highlight, they're trying to put a face to the tragedy, but there are hundreds of thousands of people who are now completely destitute. They are completely homeless. They don't plan to recover. They don't think they can recover. They're probably not going to live in that state anymore. That's how bad things are. So I really don't think we need to highlight certain individuals. There was also the question of how we felt about Jamie Lee Curtis and James Woods' comments. A lot of celebrities, regardless of your politics, and we're not going to get into politics, a lot of celebrities across the board have been making the exact same statements. Listen, I don't live in California. I don't vote. Their laws do not affect me. They do not, their taxes do not burden me in any way. So I can only say that it's pretty interesting to see that every single celebrity that I've seen so far, and again, across both on both sides, Republican and Democrat, liberal, whatever you want to say, they all seem to say the exact same thing. The biggest issue they're highlighting is the over time, the massive defunding of these important services that the state clearly needs. So I'm not going to get into it any further than that, but I just found it was very interesting because again, just those two examples alone, Jamie Lee Curtis and James Woods, complete polar opposites as far as political views and voting. So for them to kind of be aligned on how they feel definitely highlights a bigger problem. But again, I don't see an award ceremony as like a catch-all or a cure-all for this issue. This is going to affect people, and that states certainly for at least a decade, if not longer. The ripple effect is going to be insane. The loss of life, the loss of financial, people are just not financially going to recover. It's really awful. So I think they should be two separate things. I think they definitely should do something, and they should, again, kind of give people a list of the resources and where you can go to donate and lend your support to real factual sites, legitimate sites, rather than these scams that no doubt are going to come out of this. But I don't think that they should be. Of course, everybody's going to talk about it anyway. They are going to continue with the award ceremony. I don't necessarily think they should either. Just like they did with that one year with COVID, maybe you skip it. Maybe you wait till the tail end of the year. But the celebrities are going to bring it up anyway. They're gonna mention it throughout the ceremony. They're gonna mention it in their speeches. They're gonna highlight certain things. So I think it just should be two separate events. And like John said, just throw up a QR code. Hey, if you want to help, here's where to go. We know that these sites are legit, and just leave it there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a situation where, again, doing a telethon, like Johnny was like, I don't even know what a telethon is. Most of the people will be like, what are they even talking about? The only thing I will say is, look, as far as the case for doing it, you look at the ratings. Yes, they're not what they used to be back like 20 years ago, but still, like 18.7, that's like the millions of viewers. Like, if you can get in front of, let's say, close to 20 million viewers and make a case for like donate money to this cause, that could have an effect. And like Hosea was saying, even though there are celebrities and they have the means to recover, the ones that we will most likely see on camera, and they're not the ones who are the worst affected by this, unlike like you said, the thousands of people who might not even be able to like recover and might have to leave the state even. It's the whole idea at its core just doesn't. I think it's a little half-baked. No matter how good the intentions are, like you said, there's better ways to do it where it doesn't seem like you're trying to attach yourself to something for the sake of getting attention, or not necessarily getting attention. The Oscars are watched by millions of people, but it just sends the wrong message in general. By the way, I just want to welcome in. We got Leonard in the chat now, as well as Casey. I believe we mentioned Casey earlier. Lenny's saying they shouldn't have a ceremony this year or a telethon. I mean, it may come down to that. It will depend on, again, how things are. They will certainly try to delay it for us. As of right now, they haven't delayed the show itself, but the Academy did say that they shut down the museum for the time being, the Academy Art Museum, but also they're canceling a few of like the luncheons and other events that happen leading up to the Oscars. Manolo in the chat as well, saying being bludgeoned by these celebrities with their political lectures at award shows over the years. Sorry, you reap what you sow. I mean, again, it's it's not because look, the thing about people, making speeches about something that they care about, a cause that they care about. Look, here's the thing. If you win an award for something that you spent your entire career doing and is recognition for you, and you choose to use that platform to, instead of thanking the people that you want to thank, like your parents, your family, and friends, and colleagues, and instead you want to make a case for a cause that you care about, you know what? That's your time. You'd make use of it however you like.
Right.
I do not personally judge somebody for doing that.
Well, and again,
yes.
it's the fact that where it is, it could be, this could happen. I mean, we had fires all up and down the East Coast a couple of months back. There are millionaires that live in my same town. If my entire town burns, guess what? It's not just the millionaire's house, it's my house too. So we really need to keep this in perspective. Like, I understand that celebrities are going to be the ones that get the most attention here, because it is quite a massive number of well-known celebrities that have lost everything. Billy Crystal's house is gone. He's lived there for 46 years. I mean, but you guys need to put it in perspective that they live amongst regular Joe Schmoes like you and I, the people that work on these films, everybody in the production offices, all of the staff, craft services. We love craft services. We thanked craft services in the last, award ceremony. It's all, there are all the little people live there too, so we really need, again, let's not get into the poor celebrities. Yes, the majority of them do have the bank account that they can recover. They do have homes in other parts of the world that they can go to. But at the end of the day, hundreds of thousands of people have lost everything. And you guys really need to keep it in that perspective. So yeah, we're talking about pop culture stuff. We're talking about stupid, things that don't really matter, like award shows. But at the end of the day, the tone is really what's important here. And we need to remember, what's really going on and what's really important with all of this.
Yeah, and then Chuck in the chat pointing out something too, that look, these celebrities might have a lot of money, but also they employ a lot of people on their properties, and they have businesses of their own, and those people are also affected as a result of this.
Right.
So
and don't twist it when somebody tries to bring that up. There was a celebrity recently that just said, I have a housekeeper that I employ 3 days a week. I have a gardener that I employ twice a week. Their livelihood is gone. They have no homes to go and work. They have no places to turn up to. Their homes themselves are gone. And of course, then everybody on socials twists it. It's like, oh, now they're asking for money, saying it's for their gardener, for their house. Jesus Christ. Like, guess what?
No, it's literally for the blue collar workers you're claiming are not getting attention. Oh, they do get attention. Now you're fucking it up. Like,
exactly. So it's again, like I said, this exact same thing could happen in middle America where there is no celebrity in sight. This could happen in my town where, like I said, there's all manner of financial differentials going on. It doesn't matter. The point is, these are human beings, these are people, and they're fucked right now. They're fucked. So let's keep it in perspective. So again, I don't necessarily think that there should be an award ceremony at all. However, if there is, do a telethon first. Let's get that out in the forefront, and then put up all of those links to where people can donate, all that kind of stuff, and move on from there. But again, this is going to be ongoing. The fires are still going, so this is going to be ongoing for some time.
Yeah,
the whole situation is a mess. Absolutely, Caleb. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like, I think what John suggested and what you also suggested, we don't need a full-on telethon like back in the 80s and 90s where you would have a host and then people taking calls on air, or like, in the background, and you have, entertainment acts in the middle, stuff like that. Literally, the Oscars themselves, if they just put the modern version of that, like, you could just, like you said, put a QR code on screen, and that in and of itself is in effect a telethon, because, like you said,
how, like, they have the logo where it's like kind of translucent, where like the ABC one
like
is
like
instead
the little
of that,
bug,
you
like,
put a QR code. It's like it's always there. Like, hey, if you
Right.
want to donate,
Absolutely.
cool, here you go. And then on like because I know like ABC.
They'll probably
or
when
whatever,
they bump out to break, when they come back from commercial, they'll also like use those moments to like pitch the
well, I
different
was saying, like, you know
charities
how
or like
ABC has like a live broadcast online.
yes,
I
yeah,
bet like the mid rolls, all of those are gonna go toward the money's gonna go towards that. They're probably gonna have like more like ads in regards to that stuff.
Yeah,
So
I would
you
hope
know,
so. Yeah.
and like
I
you
mean, I
guys said, like
assume so. I mean, again, celebrities
yeah,
love patting themselves on the back, so
Yeah.
they're gonna definitely. You know what? Sometimes it's a double-edged sword, but you know what? Fucking take it. Like, sure, you're gonna have annoying celebrities like patting themselves on the back, but you know what? At least good people are getting money that need it, who are displaced and who are affected. Like, all right, I guess. Like, sure, you're not doing it out of the kindness of your heart. You're doing it
Yeah.
for a fucking tax break. But you know
Yeah.
what? At least people are getting money. Like, fuck it. Might as well take it.
Well, and also listen, if you can't give money, if you can't donate, Red Cross, I'm donating blood this Saturday. Like I'm always trying to be out there and donate as often as I can. There are plenty of things we can all do to help one another. I mean, there are still victims from the hurricane that we had earlier this year that are suffering here on the East Coast. So it's, we've all just got to look out for each other at this point. That's what should
It's just like at this point, everyone's just human, and we gotta, I understand it's very easy to make fun of like the rich celebs. I mean, we've been kind of doing it, but it's like at the end of the day, people's homes, their, memorabilia and like memories are gone, lives are lost, and that's just kind of how it is. So I don't know. It's just a tough thing to talk about.
yeah.
Let's move on because now
Yeah,
I'm just
I mean
depressed.
it's look, and ultimately, like you said, like the celebrities who are at the event, everybody's gonna like do their best to kind of mention and address the situation and try to like drive more support from the people watching, including I'm sure people will like pledge money of their own, like if they're accepting an award or if they're out there to give an award at the ceremony. With that said. Yeah, I mean, look, the Hollywood Reporter suggesting an idea. I don't. It was probably with the right intent, but it doesn't come off the best. But yes. Now, with that in mind, let's move on to some more brighter news. And as we do, we're gonna do it in quick hits fashion, shall we? So I'm gonna hit that bossa nova elevator music. There we go. And we're gonna hit the quick hits. That's right. So let's start off with the first one. Succession creator Jesse Armstrong's next project is an HBO film set during the financial crisis that happened like 16 years ago now. What are your thoughts on this? Looking forward to it?
Cool. Another show about rich people I won't watch because I don't give a fuck. Cool.
Liz?
I mean, great. I have heard nothing but good things about Succession. It's on the list, but again, there's just too much shit out there. Like, let me get to your first show before I start talking about your next. But hey, okay, good for him. During financial crisis, we've all been there.
Didn't care about Succession. Don't care about this. Moving on.
All right. Well, then moving along to this other story, I found this pretty interesting. John Woo Chow Yun-fat Classics, among 156 film Golden Princess library, has now been acquired by Shout Studios.
Awesome.
Some really classic John Woo movies in there. John, what are your thoughts on this?
More physical media. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
And John Woo and Chow Yun-fat definitely deserve it. Now I want to watch Hard Boiled.
Absolute classics of Hong Kong cinema. I mean, Liz, did any of the names on the list of these 156 films catch your eye?
Just the ones I knew, and I can't remember any of them at the moment. I'm still invested in the chat here. No, I agree with what John said. Absolutely, it's a good thing.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I like Hard Boiled in there, The Killer, Better Tomorrow, the whole trilogy of, in fact. Yeah, I mean, these are some excellent movies, and like you said, more physical media, John. And it's in light of how streaming is going. Maybe that will give us more selection. Now, Bad Bunny has set a residency in Puerto Rico with first shows exclusive to the locals. Of course, he is from Puerto Rico, and he does represent. They did WWE pay-per-view down there when he even was in the match. I think it was like a TLC match. It's like he came out there with like a kendo stick and he was diving from all sorts of ladders and through tables. He's a wrestling fan. He's been with the WWE for a while, done a lot of work with them. Actually, a pretty good wrestler for a celebrity, but he's even better as a singer and artist. So now that he's got a residency in Puerto Rico, yeah. I mean, Liz, what do you think about this?
Hey, good for them. I mean, he's very big. He's a big deal in Puerto Rico for sure. I think it's interesting. I've never heard of an artist doing this specifically in Puerto Rico. I was telling John it reminds me of like a Vegas residency type of thing. But I think that's really cool. And some of his shows, the first initial shows are going to be exclusively to Puerto Rican residents, period. So if you're trying to travel to go see this Bad Bunny show, you're not getting tickets. Sorry. Exactly. So I think that's pretty interesting for sure. And it's hopefully it boosts their economy. It helps people out, helps businesses out when he does open it up to people from outside of the area. I think it's cool. Good for him. Go ahead, Bad Bunny.
Yeah. I mean, I only know this guy because of Bullet Train and that canceled El Muerto film, but make that money.
Is it canceled? Is it actually?
Oh yeah, that got canceled. It was supposed to come out of January of last year. And it did not.
I think his character is still on that train from Bullet Train. That's probably why.
Anyway,
but hey, Bad Bunny doing good things. Now, of course, Sean Bean is also doing good things. He's got a new Western coming out. I think I can answer that one for you. But Sean Bean is going to be leading a new Western, The Isolate Thief. It's got a tremendous cast already. They just added 5 more people. Among those names, you've got Ty Simpkins, who was in the Insidious franchise, Jack Kesey from The Strain, Martin Sensmeyer, The Magnificent Seven, and of course country music star Brian Martin. They've also added Joe Pantoliano. And then I think Mackenzie Foy, Adaya Rush are some of the ones who were already announced earlier. Right. What do you think about this? I mean, they started filming in December last year.
Sounds like an interesting film. I might go.
Yeah, I haven't seen Sean Bean in a minute, so good for him.
Yeah.
And hopefully he doesn't die.
I mean, he hasn't
come on,
probably
he
will
die in the first National Treasure, and he didn't die in Percy Jackson and the Olympians.
Well, because it was a Disney movie, like of course they arrested his character. I remember that movie very fondly.
It's okay, Caleb. Honka honka. It's okay.
El Muerto's real to me too. Damn it. All right, moving on. So let's get into a little bit of Marvel, shall we? The Russo brothers say that for a while they just couldn't figure out an idea for Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. I mean, they gave their main man, the writers that work with Stephen McFeely, a call, and he was like, "F no, absolutely not. Like, I'm not coming back," and he hung up. But then the next morning, he called them back, and he was like, "You know what? I might have an idea for you." So ultimately, they said that they ended up stumbling upon an idea that activated all of us. Of course, we know that the Doomsday script, according to a report, if the report is true, that script is still, in the works. But the idea that the pitch, obviously, Kevin Feige loved it to the point that they're bringing back, Tony Stark, or well, I should say Robert Downey Jr. playing a version of playing Doctor Doom, obviously. A variant of Tony Stark, maybe from a parallel universe. Liz, what do you think about this? The idea that Stephen McFeely initially was really like, I'm not coming back. Hell no. This was you're asking me for another 2 Avengers movie scripts, but then they were like, there's an idea. It's kind of like in Avengers Endgame, where Tony Stark's like, hell no, I got a family, but then he thinks about it overnight, and then he solves time travel, and he's like, well, Cap, I've got an idea. Is that what happened here?
That's because he wants Spider-Man back. He missed Tom Holland. I think this is a really dumb quote. Like, I feel like it could have been worded differently. Like, to me, I read all of this and I was like, this is not the way you sell a movie. This is not the way you sell an idea. Like, to me, it just sounds like they're like, we had nothing. We got together and we're like, cash grab, let's make it work. That's what this reads to me as. So they need to figure out a different way to package this thing and say, hey, what about doing this? The guy said, oh, not really. And then that sparks something. Okay, great. Let's get together and bang it. Like, it just, the wording of all of this sounds really
It's very
shitty.
weird.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Anyway, I'm not going to see either of these movies, so I don't really care.
All right, moving on then. Moving a little further back in time as far as the MCU is concerned, Stanley Tucci recently said that Captain America: The First Avenger was quote-unquote one of the greatest roles and jobs he's ever had. He was cast to play a 70-year-old man at the age of 50, so that was disturbing. I mean, you know, and he probably said it in the Stanley Tucci way, so it sounded better than maybe the way I'm saying it. But you know what he said? That's all right. That's all right. It was one of the best jobs and, you know, roles that I had.
I mean, First Avengers is fucking underrated as fuck. So
it was, you know what, that movie just gets. I think I didn't give it enough credit when it first came out. I enjoy it more now than I did back then because I was like, I want to see good DC movies at the same time, and DC was sort of like the Dark Knight trilogy and then, you know, Man of Steel, but then things didn't really go too well after. But Captain America: The First Avenger is honestly just a really well put together movie. Like you said, one of the most underrated. Joe Johnston.
Yeah, it's just really interesting for him to. I'm wondering, was it the best role? Like, was it the biggest paycheck he ever got in a film? Because I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you were in Beethoven, dude. Like he's been in quite a number of films and quite a variety of films. So to have him say that this is his best, I'm like, you were in Devil Wears Prada. Like, you've been in a lot of other things and got. I mean, he was just in Conclave. He might get nominated for something in Conclave. Like, I'm wondering if he's referring to the paycheck. Like, it was the best job for the most amount of money I ever made, so I had a blast. I would feel the same way.
Maybe he wants another paycheck. Maybe that's why.
Hey, he'll come back. Yeah, you never know.
I mean, John, what do you think? I mean, to be honestly, I didn't even think he looked like a 70-year-old in the movie. I'm like, really?
No,
I thought he was trying to be like 55 or something at best.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is great because, like, it's an underrated movie. Stanley Tucci's a great actor. So the fact that he's like, hell yeah, this was like the performance of my career. I'm like, all right, hell yeah, let's fucking go.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see him back in the MCU, honestly, if it were up to me. But hey, Better Man, based on the life and times of Robbie Williams, who, of course, I think if you were from the UK, you probably know more about Robbie Williams.
What the fuck were they expecting? Oh my god, this guy that nobody outside of the UK has ever fucking heard of.
I'm shocked by this. I'm genuinely.
Let's distribute it in the US.
I'm genuinely shocked by this.
Wait, it bombed?
No. You're so out of line, John. I'm genuinely shocked. I'm seeing it tomorrow. I personally cannot wait. I've been thrilled
it's a great movie.
ever since I saw it. But my point is, every single person that I have spoken to, you being the exception, John, has told me they are looking forward to this film.
Yeah.
So I'm just shocked that they're considering it a bomb because I can't tell you how many people are planning on seeing it.
You know 100 million people? If that's the case, then like I'm a little shocked that it hasn't. But it's like many people that are going to go see this movie.
Even for Wicked, like I knew a couple of people that were like, I'm not going to go see that. Every person that I've spoken to, aside from you, again, that has seen the trailer for this is like, yeah, it looks amazing. It looks really awesome. I really want to see it. A lot more people know who Robbie Williams is than you're giving credit. Because he had a very successful solo career. He's had a very successful career with he's been in quite a number of
bunch of other people I know have not heard of this fool before this goddamn movie.
You are also much younger
I'm like,
than me,
who is Robin Williams? I know
Robin
Williams. Are they doing a biopic about him? Honestly, that would be fire.
Louise.
But Robbie Williams, never heard of the guy.
I don't know, man. Get out of the house. I don't know what to tell you. Rock DJ, Angel's his biggest hit.
Never fucking heard of any music, any song.
He's broken records overseas for concert venues. I mean, Google him. I don't know what to tell you, babe, but all I know is I'm going to see this tomorrow, and I am beside myself with glee. I'm going to cry. I'm going to applaud. I might sing along a little bit. I can't fucking wait for this film. So I hope that it picks up. I hope that people aren't deterred by this headline.
Hey,
because,
Hunter,
again, everybody that I've seen is looking forward to it. Thank you, Caleb. Angels is a banger, but Rock DJ is still my personal favorite. But anyway.
I mean, look,
no, thank you.
So just this, we got into the conversation before I could really even set the stage.
You lived in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard Robbie Williams' music. It's not particularly like something that I would like put on a playlist of my greatest personal like favorite hits, but I recognize that he's got star power. I think the fact that they did the whole like gimmick thing with like he's like an animated CGI monkey.
It wasn't his
movie.
idea. It was the writer's idea, and but everybody says
I get it, but it sort of feels like a gimmick done to be a gimmick because it's like
I don't know,
piece by
even
piece.
The reasoning behind it's like I kind of get it, but it's like it still feels gimmicky. Like, you feel more for animals that get abused than people, so it's like okay, I can kind of see that, but it still feels gimmicky.
That's not
exactly.
right.
It's not reason enough. It's not. I'm just saying.
Was one of the reasons in one of the articles. They're like, yeah, that was. I remember reading that. That was like one of the reasons why.
But that's not why he went ahead and did it. That's just what they're implying from it. But anyway, I can't wait. I'm so excited. Can't wait to tell you all about it after I see it. It's gonna be a banger.
I'm sure it's great. I just have no interest.
Well, but also he did say too that he wanted to do something different because of all the other biopics that now, and he
exactly. So that's why I kind of respect. That's why I kind of respected the fucking Pharrell Williams one. I'm like, okay, it's Lego. That's kind of cool. And then you said that sucked. So I'm like, okay, that's a shame. But
it was behind the music and Lego.
I'm like, all right, cool. He's a monkey. That's great. Like,
yeah.
I mean, look, I've watched some of the behind the scenes of how they shot some of the sequences. It looks fantastic. The reviews are great. It just happens to be that the movie came out like in wide release this week, and on a budget of 110 million, Paramount was probably hoping to make more than 1 million domestic, 1.1 million, and then worldwide it only made $10 million. I mean, honestly, it also like on top of the money they spent on making the movie, Paramount spent like 25 million just to acquire the rights to it. So there's no way it's gonna make its money back. But hopefully, if it gets more awards attention and award season as we've been talking about, maybe that will help drive more attention to it, because this movie is also directed by the same director who did The Greatest Showman. And if you remember, The Greatest Showman was doing well, but once it won some Oscars, it had a pretty significant bump from that. So hopefully, Better Man can recover, because Robbie Williams certainly, in his day was huge. And then again, even though he's not somebody who's as well known outside of the UK, I mean, obviously, Liz, like you talked about, a lot of people still appreciate his music.
You're probably going to hear a lot more of his songs now, kind of have a little re-release action. So I think that'll help too. I can't wait for it. I'm seeing it in less than 24 hours.
Even my friend who was making fun of this movie more so than I was like, oh, that's.
Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you.
I was like, okay, cool. I was like, I praised the unique concept. I'm like, I'm not interested, but like, cool. This sounds like an interesting idea. My friends were like lambasting this movie from like day one. They're like, this looks like the dumbest movie ever. They're like, oh, look, it's the monkey movie, and all this other shit. My friend who made fun of it the most begrudgingly had to say that was actually a really great movie. So I'm like, eat a fucking dick, man. There you go. So shut the fuck up.
This is what I'm saying. This is why I'm shocked. I'm shocked that it's a bomb. And again, I hope this stupid article doesn't deter people from seeing it in theaters.
Maybe it'll get people.
It's a great popcorn movie. It's going to be a great popcorn movie.
Guys, go see Better Man. Honestly, now I might see it out of spite. Come see it
tomorrow with me.
I might see it out of spite now, just to like.
You're just gonna hate watch it.
All right, well,
no, not hate watch it.
I don't know.
It's just like spiting the shitty, more popular movies that are coming.
Another movie.
Fuck you, Mufasa. You're not taking my money. I'm gonna go see a monkey movie instead of a lion movie.
You want an animal movie? Robbie Williams, Better Man. Don't fuck with Mufasa, Better Man.
I'm gonna become like a Robbie Williams stan now because of this movie.
You will.
I'm sure he's great. Like
poor Dan's trying to keep it moving.
What's his genre? I'm like, what is his
he's
genre?
He's a pop star.
Okay, I might pop. Anyway, sorry.
Look up the video for Rock DJ and you'll understand all you need to know about this man.
Okay.
Anyway, go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
This is supposed to be quick hits.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say so. Another movie that John might watch out of spite will be Fantastic Four: The First Steps.
I might watch it. But
now, of course, Julia Garner's playing the Silver Surfer in this new iteration, and she's been talking about there's a whole new universe of ideas and stories that are opening up as a result of this. She was actually, doing an interview with comicbook.com, and she's promoting her upcoming movie Wolfman, because that's another one that she's a part of, and then just reflected on the shooting of process, the principal photography for Fantastic Four: The First Steps, and or the Fantastic Four: First Steps. I keep saying it the opposite. She kind of was asked about what stood out to her about that project during production, just the grand scale of the film, and she said, I mean, just how big it is. It's a big universe, and I feel so grateful I get to be a little part of it, to be honest. I mean, to you, Liz, does this just feel like, again, she's an actress who doesn't necessarily do a lot of big studio pictures, who was just amazed to be on a set the size and scale, or, just the many different sets I'm sure that they were shooting on? Or is this a hint that maybe, this Fantastic Four is opening up a whole new timeline of possibilities that will then eventually, I guess, merge with the main timeline of the MCU? Because this Fantastic Four doesn't come from the sacred timeline. Like, what are your thoughts on what Julia Garner said?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if that's the direction that they go with it, and especially, the few renderings that we've seen, the couple of paintings and stuff that we've seen, does kind of give us that thinking that it's going to be a separate timeline. I'm just excited they're finally talking about the various actors in this fucking film, because they really haven't gotten any love. It's all been about RDJ and whatever role potentially that Chris Evans is going to play coming up. But I'm just glad that they're finally talking about this film, and they're talking about it with the main cast. So that's great. I love Julia. I think she's not only an excellent actress, but she's been in quite a significant variety of roles that are like no role is the same. And this is the biggest scale she's ever worked on, but I mean, she's worked on full series before. She's worked on
isn't she going to be in the new Wolfman movie?
As Dan just said, he's in Wolfman that's coming out. So I'm excited for her, and I hope this just continues to open further doors for her. That's for sure.
Yeah. Somebody's telling us that the music is really loud. We'll work on adjusting that. Yeah, I mean, Chris is asking, by the way, hello, Chris, in the chat. He's asking, when did Fantastic Four finish filming?
A couple weeks ago, I think.
It was more than that, actually, at this point, right? It was late last year, is what I'll say. I think it was December. Caleb is actually excited for the Fantastic Four movie. So, yeah, I mean, I am too. I want to see what this looks like. I want to see what this new Silver Surfer
is. Yeah, I mean, I like the retro futurism aspect, but
I do.
I don't know how good it'll be.
I think we all agree that this movie has potential. Just whether it will achieve that potential or not, or live up to the potential or not, we'll get to see. Hopefully very, very soon, which we will. It's going to be coming out in July, only a couple of weeks after Superman. Speaking of movies coming out, Shrek 5. Shrek 5, oh my god, Shrek 5. Can you believe that the last Shrek movie, like the fourth one, came out in 2010? Like, if there was a kid born in 2010, they would be 14 years old today. And by the time Shrek 5 comes out, they could potentially be getting their driver's license, or at least their learner's permit in the US at age 16. Like, a high school kid's worth of time has passed by. The Shrek 5 is finally happening, but it was set to come out in July of 2026. And they just, Comcast kind of did a bit of a shakeup with NBC Universal, saying that, hey, we're going to push Shrek 5 back a little bit to December 2026. And then Minions 3, which was originally set for, I believe it was spring or summer of 2027, got moved back to basically
that's what we really fucking need.
The previous release date. So July 1st, 2026 is now where Minions 3 will land. And then Shrek 5 is going to come out on December 23rd, 2026. So, of course, the Minions is part of the Despicable Me franchise, which that franchise has owned like the July 4th weekend release date over the years. I mean, the last Despicable Me movie, the fourth one, it made like $969 million. Like low-key, almost $1 billion. And it wasn't even the best movie in the franchise. Now, of course, they usually alternate between the Minions and the Despicable Me movies, so it makes sense that the next one is Minions 3. But obviously, they're working on it fast enough that they moved it a whole year back. I wish they did this with the Batman. Listen up, Matt Reeves. From June 30th, 2027, Justice for Batman, to July 1st. So they moved it pretty much a whole year forward, whereas now Shrek 5, you have to wait another 6 months. Liz, what do you think about this? Are you willing to wait another 6 months for Shrek 5, or are you just like,
I don't care. It's been 14 years. You just said, Dan. Posty just said that they've had 4 kids between Shrek 4 and 5. So who the fuck said, hey, you know what we really need? What we've been missing in life is Shrek 5. After 14 years, I'm
all for it. The
Listen,
shit
I'll
posters
see
and
it.
the memers are gonna have a
Listen,
field day
I'll
with this.
see it
I'm
and I'll
stoked.
enjoy it, but I haven't been sitting at home being like, when's Shrek 5 coming out? Why don't we have a Shrek 5? What's going on with Shrek 5? There are plenty of other fucking original ideas we could come up with, I'm sure of it. And same thing with Minions 3. I don't give a shit. I'll see them. Okay, great, whatever the fuck. It's stop giving Matt Reeves shit if you're excited for Shrek 5 after 14 fucking years. You all need to pick a lane.
I am excited.
You
This
can't have it
movie's
both
gonna.
ways here. You can't have it both ways.
I can have it both ways because the Shrek 5 is gonna make $1 billion. It's
It
gonna
sure
be a
will.
huge hit.
It sure will.
$3 billion.
I just can't wait for
Gonna be
Smash Mouth
sure
to make it
will.
to the top of the
Frickin'
charts
time.
again.
Universal's gonna
Jared
be
Leto is
popping.
Shrek now.
Hey now.
Jared Leto's gonna
You're a
play
rock
all
star.
the roles, Caleb, and it's gonna be the most. It's Shrek kills Morbius. That's
Dude,
that's the movie.
Universal parks are gonna be popping in 2027. That's
It's gonna
all
be
I know.
amazing. It's gonna be the
Holy
greatest.
shit.
It's gonna be.
They
the
need to like
greatest movie of all
incorporate some
time.
of those fluffy jokes, like the donkey, or like I just want to hear
Did
Shrek
you hear the
scream,
donkey
"Fiona!"
died? Did you hear that?
No.
The donkey
No,
just
since
died.
when?
The donkey
What donkey?
that they used to render this donkey, the donkey that was the inspiration to draw this donkey.
Oh man,
has just
I hope
passed away.
I hope they had like a dedication to him.
Like
to the
literally a
donkey at
week
the
ago,
end.
he just passed
That's so
away.
terrible.
Yeah.
Well, and in honor of Donkey, the real Donkey,
Go
Eddie
see
Murphy will
Shrek
voice.
5.
It's crazy
I
because
didn't even know there was a Shrek 3. That's the worst one, by the way.
Justin Timberlake was in that one. That was his debut. Was Justin
Yeah,
Timberlake
he
in
was
Shrek 3.
fucking Arthur, wasn't he, or whatever? God, I
Amen.
barely remember that movie. I went to go see that
again,
in
I'll
the theater,
see it.
and I'm like,
Give a flying. I really, I
By-
don't.
by the
Shrek
way-
1 and 2 are great. Shrek 3 sucks donkey dicks, pun intended. Shrek 4, surprisingly underrated.
I've
you,
said
you
this
know
before.
who know who sucks that. Never mind, I'm not gonna go there.
Nope. So I said this before. Emperor's New
Rock.
Groove and Shrek
No.
and the first Shrek came out around the same time, and people were split. I was an Emperor's New Groove person, so that's kind of where my
Emperor's
head
New
is
Groove
always
is the
at
better movie. I would
when I
say.
hear Shrek. So
I wanna
could
see a
give
live
shit.
action remake
again,
of
I'll
that.
see it.
No,
I'll see it,
don't
but I
give
care.
them any ideas, Dan.
Oh my god, a live
Jesus
action
fucking
Emperor's New
Christ.
Groove would be hilarious, but you have to cast the original cast. So we need David Spade. We
Eartha
need John
Eartha
Goodman.
Kitt, she's dead.
We need
What, are you gonna weekend at Bernie's her?
a
throughout the
drag
movie?
queen. No, we could have a drag queen play her.
Yeah, get
That would be
RuPaul
fucking great.
playing Eartha
I would
Kitt,
die. You
yeah.
know what? I'm gonna talk to my podcast producer. We're gonna make it happen.
By the way,
That would be fucking brilliant.
Disney also did move Ice Age 6 to pretty much the same week as Shrek 5. And you guys were asking, like, they must be really confident. Well, I mean, look, Christmas is the time of the year where literally you can have
Ice Age
5
6.
blockbusters out at the same
Jesus
time. They will all
Christ.
make money. So, and you know what?
The
They're
Ice
trying to
Age
take
movies
advantage.
are longer than the Ice Age. Like, does that? Are we not?
I
doing
know,
this?
I know. I can't believe we're on the 6th movie. Do you guys
I will
remember
say
the?
They
first
should
person
all
movies
be
is not
frozen
that
right
bad.
now. They should all be fossilized at this point. It's ridiculous.
By the way, the original studio, Blue Sky Studios, that used to make the Ice Age movies, they were based in Connecticut until like Fox sold them as part of the whole deal to Disney, and then
Fucking
eventually
Fox,
Disney
man.
merged them into their like bigger studios out west. So that was it. I mean, but nonetheless, Ice Age 6 and Shrek 5, they're gonna look to take advantage of the off year where there's not an Avatar movie coming out in Christmas, so they'll try to like get
They're
all that money
already-
while they can.
They're almost wrapped on Avatar 4 already. 3 is in the can. They're all.
I mean, they shot some of it for like the second movie because remember James Cameron said he
Yeah.
shot like parts of Avatar because like the kids would have
Yeah,
grown up.
they're basically just gonna keep going. They're not gonna stop
Yeah.
in between anymore. So
Yeah.
that'll be interesting.
Jim Cameron's just like full steam fucking ahead with this
And I-
franchise that nobody yet everybody cares about. It's
Yep.
Schrodinger's franchise.
I think America doesn't care, but clearly the rest of the world does. So.
I guess so.
Are you kidding me? America cares. That movie made
I'm
like
gonna-
half
I'm
a
looking
billion
up the
dollars in
box
America
office
alone.
mojo. I'm looking it up now.
It-
Look
it-
up the first Avatar, Papyrus Bold. Let's go.
I did like the second one better than the first one, so they will. Keep
I
doing
think
it.
the second Ice Age is the best one, and
So,
then Puss
okay.
in Boots.
So
I agree
here's
with
the
you,
thing for the-
Caleb.
okay,
That second
so Liz
movie
is
was
definitely
amazing.
right on this because so the domestic gross for the first Avatar was 785 million. For
you.
the international alone, 2.1 billion
Thank you.
dollars,
Thank you.
and it made almost passed the threshold for 3 billion. But if you count re-releases, it definitely did. But yeah, it's
Also,
Crazy.
fun fact: Zoe Saldana is the only actress in the entire world that is in all 4 of the top 4 highest grossing films of all time. The only actor in all
Wait,
4 of the
isn't
top 4.
Titanic
That's
one of
fucking
them?
cool.
Well,
No.
but
Not
Titanic
anymore?
is
Okay.
no, Titanic is one of them, isn't it? Like, cause it's so
She
it's
was in the top 4.
Avatar.
It's Avatar.
Avatar 2. I
Yep.
mean Avatar, The Way of Water, Avengers Endgame, and then is that Titanic after Endgame?
No,
Or is
she's,
it Infinity?
she's in the top 4. Yeah, now you
Is
guys
it
are
Infinity
making me
War
want
is number 4? I
I
thought
guess
it was like
Titanic's number
Titanic.
5.
yeah.
Is it really? Well, I mean, whatever.
I guess. Hold on, now
I don't care, man. James Cameron still owns like 3 other top 5, and they're not even
like,
for
bro,
him. They're not Avengers movies.
and then like for the newest one, 1.6 billion was for international, and about 600 million was for the U.S. But that's still a lot. That's still fucking a lot for domestic alone.
Yeah. Dude, people don't realize how big of a hit Titanic was. That movie made $1 billion in the 90s. In the 90s.
It would be the top. It would be the top 3 because that's Avatar.
Okay, yeah, because
Avengers,
Titanic isn't there.
and Avatar
Okay,
the Way
That's
of
what I
Water
thought.
was-
That's
okay,
what I
so
was
she's
like,
in
Titanic,
4.
yeah.
Excuse me. So she's in 4 of the top 5. But again, she's the only actor.
Yeah,
in the
that's pretty
entire
fucking
world.
awesome. Not
That's
gonna lie.
fucking cool, dude. And Marvel's got her, gang.
Actually,
Anyway.
3 of the top.
How's
5,
this becoming
because
a
the fifth
Marvel
one is
versus
Star
DC
Wars
thing,
7.
Wilson?
I'm going off
I
of
just
worldwide.
no, I
for-
just pulled it up. No, I'm talking about the 4. Anyway, moving along.
Anyway,
Moving
Yeah.
along.
Clearly the interest is still there. I mean, look, I think Shrek 5 is going to become the first $1 billion. Because,
Shrek
guys,
5. I
Shrek
can't
4
believe
wasn't even the
it's
best
Shrek
one,
5.
but I think Shrek 4 made like 700 some odd million dollars.
it did. I just checked.
It's crazy,
I
right?
think
Like,
just
so like
under
it's
800 million.
yeah, it's
And
it's
with
insane.
the shit
This
posters
franchise is gonna
and the
print money.
memes, that's
Yep.
gonna
Mhm.
crank that shit up.
Oh yeah, and
We're
I
all
just, dude,
stars,
I
baby.
remember the audible cheer in the movie theater when at the end of like Puss in Boots 2, the camera pans because he's like, I gotta go see some friends first, and it's like, you know, far, far away, and I was like, oh my god, I almost wanted to like yell out like a donkey like into the movie theater. Anyway, but
You
that
should
would have been so fantastic.
You fucking
What
coward.
are we doing here? What are we doing here?
To be fair, I was also a coward. I wanted to yell when Daredevil showed up in Spider-Man No Way Home, but nobody else did, and then I got too
I
afraid.
did. I
got
did.
too afraid. And then I was gonna do it the second time, but then I think I was just like, woo, but nothing. crazy.
Oh, come on, you gotta be loud. You gotta commit to
He's
the
a
woo.
really good lawyer. He's a
He's
really good lawyer.
Really good lawyer. Well, with that said, guys, that brings to a close the news and
The quick hits that by
portion
the
of the
not so
show.
quick, but that's beside the
Not so
Quick
quick.
as we- yeah,
Not
we
so
don't know
quick.
the
Well, today it
definition of
wasn't so quick. But you know what? The show continues. But let us know in the comments what you guys think about all those stories and your thoughts and comments.